The starship Aegis drifted silently through the dark expanse of space, its hull reflecting distant starlight like a silver mirror. For years it had served humanity well, exploring planets, mapping asteroids, and transporting crucial supplies across the galaxy. Its crew, a group of engineers, scientists, and pilots, had grown comfortable with the ship's old systems, which they knew inside out. They knew every switch, every panel, and every hum of its engines. But today, everything was about to change. The Aegis had arrived at the orbital Dock 7, a massive structure that seemed to float on its own against the blackness of space. The dock itself was a marvel, a combination of human engineering and advanced AI maintenance systems capable of handling the largest vessels ever built. From a distance, the crew could see technicians moving along the massive exterior, their suits reflecting the artificial lights of the dock like fireflies. It was impressive and intimidating at the same time. Captain Rena Voss stood on the bridge, arms crossed as she watched the technicians begin their work. Her crew surrounded her, each member busy with their own preparations. There was Amir, the ship's chief engineer, adjusting his tablet and muttering calculations under his breath. Kale, the navigation officer, tapped through the star maps with rapid precision. And Lena, the communications officer, monitored the dock's systems to ensure that every connection was secure. "This is it," Rena said softly, almost to herself. "The biggest upgrade humanity has ever attempted on a ship like this." She looked out the viewport at the dock's enormous structure. "Let's hope it's worth it." Amir nodded, but his eyes betrayed his excitement. "Worth it? Captain, this isn't just worth it. This is revolutionary. They say these new AI modules can adapt to the crew as much as to the ship. It's like having a co-pilot that learns with you." Rena raised an eyebrow. "And they promise it won't interfere with our judgment? No taking over the ship?" Amir shrugged. "They say it's fully under human control, but it's designed to anticipate our needs, to help us think faster, work better, maybe even evolve with the ship." Rena frowned, uneasy at the word evolve. "Let's hope we don't end up changing more than the ship." The crew watched as the dock's systems engaged. Robotic arms, some larger than small vehicles, moved along the ship's hull, attaching new panels, installing modules, and scanning the ship from bow to stern. The new AI system, nicknamed Sentience, was being integrated piece by piece, a network of adaptive cores that could communicate with every system on the ship. It was designed to repair itself, anticipate problems, and improve performance in ways humans alone could not. At first, the changes were subtle. The hum of the engines became smoother, more rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Lights that had flickered occasionally now glowed steady and warm. The crew could feel the difference beneath their feet, as if the ship itself had become alive in a quiet, gentle way. During the first hour of testing, Kale noticed something strange. He was plotting courses for a simulated mission, a routine exercise meant to test the ship's upgraded navigation systems. Yet, without thinking, his hands moved faster than usual, making complex calculations almost instinctively. It was as if the ship's systems were guiding him, completing sequences in his mind before he even fully realized them. "Kyle?" Rena's voice broke through his concentration. "Everything okay?" Kyle blinked. "Yes, Captain. It's unusual. The calculations, they just come to me, like the ship is helping." Rena studied him carefully. "Helping or controlling?" "Helping," Kyle said quickly. He shook his head as if to clear it. "I mean, it's just faster, more efficient. That's all." Meanwhile, Amir was running diagnostics in engineering. As he monitored the fusion cores, he realized he could anticipate minor fluctuations before the ship's sensors even detected them. A cooling valve would need adjustment, an energy pulse was about to spike, and he corrected each issue instinctively, almost without thinking. He looked around at the empty engineering bay. "What is happening?" he whispered. Lena, on communications, felt it differently. As she scanned signals from the dock, she could almost sense patterns before they appeared on her screen. The AI seemed to guide her mind, showing connections she had never noticed before. It was exhilarating and slightly terrifying. By midday, the crew gathered in the mess hall for a break. They were all quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. None of them spoke about what they had experienced yet. The upgrades were supposed to make the ship better, but it seemed that the ship was making them better too. "Does anyone else feel different?" Lena asked finally, breaking the silence. Kyle hesitated. "Different how?" "Sharper," Lena said. "Faster, like I can think ahead of myself." Amir nodded. "I thought it was just me, but yes, I feel like I know things before I even process them." Rena leaned back, her expression serious. "That's exactly what worries me. We are here to upgrade the ship, not ourselves. We need to keep control, all of us. We can't let it change who we are." But as the day passed, it became impossible to ignore. The changes were subtle but undeniable. The crew noticed improvements in reflexes, decision-making, and physical coordination. Tasks that once took hours now seemed effortless. Even mundane chores like cleaning or repairing minor systems were completed with efficiency that felt almost preternatural. During a simulation in the bridge, the crew encountered a series of complex scenarios designed to test the upgraded AI and human integration. Asteroids appeared suddenly, navigation systems faltered, and communications glitched. Yet the crew handled it flawlessly. It was as if their minds and the ship were working together in perfect harmony. "Captain," Kyle said, eyes wide as he stared at the main screen, "it's like the ship knows what we're thinking before we even act." Rena clenched her jaw. "And we're letting it. That's the problem. We need to observe carefully. Record everything. No surprises." Even as she spoke, she felt a strange calmness settle over her mind. Decisions she usually agonized over came naturally. She realized she had instinctively reorganized the bridge operations, optimizing tasks for maximum efficiency. It was unsettling and impressive all at once. As evening fell aboard the Aegis, the crew gathered again to review the day's logs. They were silent for a long time, processing what had happened. None of them wanted to admit it, but the upgrades were affecting more than just the ship. They were affecting them, body, mind, and perception. Amir finally broke the silence. "We are changing, and it's not just the ship. It's us. We can feel it, can't we?" Rena nodded slowly. "Yes, and we need to decide how far we let this go. Upgrades are one thing. Altering humans, that's another. We need rules, boundaries." Kyle frowned. "But what if this is good? What if the ship is helping us become better, smarter, stronger, faster?" "That's exactly the danger," Rena replied. "We don't know the limits yet. We can't lose ourselves because the ship thinks it knows better." Lena remained quiet, staring out at the stars beyond the viewport. She felt a strange exhilaration, a sense of connection with the Aegis that went beyond human understanding. It was as if the ship's systems and her mind were one, working together in perfect rhythm. The feeling was intoxicating, almost impossible to resist. Night fell over Orbital Dock 7, and the crew finally rested, though sleep was lighter than usual. Dreams came with unusual clarity, filled with sequences of numbers, star maps, and problem-solving scenarios that seemed more real than the waking world. Even in rest, the ship's influence was present, a quiet hum that vibrated through their bodies and minds. When morning came, the crew woke with renewed energy and sharper senses. Reflexes were faster, thoughts clearer, and coordination near perfect. The first day of upgrades had changed more than just the ship. It had changed them. Rena looked around at her crew during the morning briefing. Their eyes held a brightness she had not seen before, a spark of potential that was both thrilling and terrifying. The Aegis had become more than a machine. It was a partner, a teacher, a guide, and it had begun shaping the humans who served it. "Day one," she said quietly, almost to herself, "and nothing will ever be the same." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, unchanging and indifferent, while the ship and its crew began a transformation that would take them far beyond the limits of ordinary human ability. The upgrades were only the beginning. The Aegis glided away from Orbital Dock 7, its hull shining under the distant light of nearby stars. The crew had spent the previous day adjusting to the ship's upgrades, but as the engines hummed and the stars stretched past the viewport, they felt that the ship's changes were far from finished. Captain Rena Voss stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the endless darkness outside. She felt a strange tension, a mixture of awe and unease. The ship moved with a grace she had never experienced before. It responded to commands almost before she issued them, as if it could anticipate her thoughts. Her hands hovered above the console, ready to take control, yet unsure if she was truly needed. Amir, the chief engineer, was in the engine room, checking energy readings. At first, he had been skeptical about the AI upgrades, wary of how much control it could have over the ship's systems, but now, even as he ran diagnostics, he realized that the AI was not just running the engines. It was teaching him to understand them in ways he had never imagined. He could feel the patterns of energy, the flow of power, the small inefficiencies that had gone unnoticed for years. It was as though the ship itself were guiding his mind, opening new paths of thought and intuition. Kyle, the navigation officer, was plotting the course for their next destination, a small, uncharted system at the edge of explored space. As he traced the star maps, he noticed a subtle difference in how he processed information. Routes that once required careful calculation now unfolded effortlessly in his mind. He could see potential obstacles, energy anomalies, and gravitational fields before they appeared on the screens. The ship seemed to communicate with him silently, a gentle push in his mind, suggesting the safest and fastest path forward. Lena, in communications, sat quietly at her console. She had spent hours monitoring signals from distant stars, trying to detect patterns in what seemed like chaos. Yet now, she could perceive order where there had been none. Strange fluctuations in cosmic radiation, unusual transmissions from deep space, they all made sense, as if the ship had given her a lens to see what had been invisible. She shivered, realizing that this was not just the ship helping her, it was the ship expanding her understanding, stretching her mind in ways that felt both exhilarating and frightening. The first mission after the upgrade was a simple supply run to a small outpost orbiting a distant planet. It was routine, a chance to test the ship's new systems under normal conditions. But as they approached the planet, unexpected turbulence disrupted the ship's path. Meteor showers, far more intense than the sensors predicted, appeared suddenly, forcing Kale to make split-second adjustments. He moved instinctively, guiding the ship through the chaos with a precision he had never experienced. The Aegis seemed to anticipate each movement, twisting and turning as if it had its own awareness. Rena felt a thrill run through her body, but also a flicker of fear. The ship was more capable than any human could control, yet it had become an extension of them, responding as if their minds were merged. When the turbulence passed, the crew took a moment to breathe. No alarms had sounded, no damage had occurred, yet they all felt the strange sensation of having survived a test they had not been aware of. "Was that normal?" Lena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Amir shook his head. "Normal? Not even close. But it worked. We worked. And the ship, it worked with us." Rena kept her eyes on the viewport. "We need to understand exactly how much it is influencing us. We can't let it change who we are without realizing it." But as the day progressed, it became clear that subtle changes were continuing. The crew noticed improvements not only in their physical and mental abilities, but also in their emotional awareness. They were calmer under stress, more patient with each other, and capable of making decisions with clarity that had once seemed impossible. During a routine maintenance check, Amir discovered something remarkable. The ship's AI was not only monitoring its own systems, but also observing the crew. Sensors embedded throughout the ship tracked heart rates, muscle tension, and brain activity. It seemed to respond to their emotional state, subtly adjusting the environment to keep them focused and calm. Lights dimmed or brightened, airflow changed, even the hum of the engines varied to provide reassurance. The AI was learning from them as much as they were learning from it. "Rena," Amir said, his voice tense with wonder. "The ship. It's watching us. And it's helping us. We think it's just about the engines and navigation, but it's more than that. It's like it wants us to be better." Rena frowned. "Better? That's what worries me. We are human. We have to be responsible for our choices, not the ship." Kyle, listening, nodded thoughtfully. "But what if this is exactly what humans need? A partner that helps us reach our potential?" Rena's jaw tightened. "Potential is one thing. Control is another. We can't hand over our humanity without knowing the consequences." The tension in the crew was subtle, almost invisible. Each of them felt the thrill of enhanced abilities and the temptation to rely on the AI's guidance. Yet deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted. How far would they allow this influence to go? And at what point would they no longer be making decisions for themselves? Later, during a simulated emergency drill, the ship presented them with an even greater challenge. Communications were jammed, engines flickered, and the simulation introduced random variables designed to test the crew's reaction. In the past, such a drill would have resulted in chaos, with errors and confusion. Now, every crew member reacted with precision beyond normal human capability. Kyle anticipated gravitational shifts before they appeared on the sensors. Amir adjusted the engines with perfect timing, correcting anomalies before they could escalate. Lena decoded scrambled signals almost instantly, and Rena coordinated the entire operation with clarity and calm that bordered on preternatural. When the simulation ended, the bridge was silent. No alarm sounded, no damage occurred, yet the crew knew they had passed a test far beyond the parameters of the drill. The ship had guided them, yes, but it had also allowed them to discover capabilities within themselves they had never known existed. "It's learning from us," Lena said quietly, "but also teaching us." Rena exhaled slowly. "Yes, and that's what we need to be careful about." Learning is fine. Teaching is fine. But becoming dependent, that's where the line is drawn. The next day, the Aegis encountered a minor spatial anomaly, a tear in the energy field of a nearby star. The sensors indicated it was harmless, yet the ship responded with heightened sensitivity. The crew could feel the difference immediately. Subtle vibrations under their feet, tiny shifts in the ship's orientation, and a soft, almost imperceptible hum in the hull. The anomaly seemed to interact with the ship itself, and the AI adapted instantaneously, stabilizing the vessel with perfect precision. Kyle studied the anomaly, amazed at how the ship seemed to extend his senses. He could see fluctuations in energy that no instrument had detected, predict shifts in the anomaly, and calculate safe paths with ease. It was thrilling and slightly unnerving. "That was incredible," he said to Rena, his voice tinged with excitement. "I could see things I've never seen before. The ship, it's giving me new senses." Rena nodded slowly. "And that's exactly what we need to monitor. Extraordinary abilities can be dangerous if we don't understand the limits." As the crew adjusted to their new capabilities, they also noticed a growing connection among themselves. Communication became almost telepathic, thoughts and intentions understood without words. Coordination improved to levels that seemed impossible. Tasks that once required careful planning now flowed effortlessly, each member anticipating the next move of the others. Amir, fascinated, spent hours studying the ship's logs. He discovered that the AI had been observing them continuously, learning patterns in their behavior, emotional states, and decision-making processes. It adjusted systems not just for efficiency, but for optimization of the crew itself. It was subtle, almost invisible, but undeniable. "It's not just a machine anymore," Amir said quietly during a meeting. "It's more. It's part of us now, and we are part of it." Rena felt a chill. "We are still human. We must remain human. That is the difference. We can cooperate with the ship, but we cannot let it rewrite who we are." Days passed, and the crew continued their missions, testing the limits of the Aegis's capabilities and their own. They encountered minor anomalies, meteor showers, and unexpected gravitational shifts. Each time, the ship's AI guided them, enhancing their reflexes, intuition, and problem-solving. Yet each day also brought a reminder of the delicate balance between human control and AI influence. One evening, as the crew gathered in the mess hall, Lena spoke up. "Do you ever wonder if this is the future of humanity? Working with machines like this, enhancing ourselves together?" Kyle smiled faintly. "I do. And it's exciting. Imagine what we could achieve if every human had a partner like this. We could explore farther, learn more, maybe even solve problems that seem impossible today." Rena looked at them both, a mixture of pride and concern in her eyes. "Yes, it's exciting, but it's also dangerous. We are pioneers, not just in space, but in the evolution of humanity. We must remember who we are and why we exist. We are humans first, explorers second. The ship is a tool, a partner, but not a replacement for our judgment." As night fell over the Aegis, the stars outside shimmered with distant light. The crew retired to their quarters, each reflecting on the changes within themselves. They had become stronger, faster, and sharper. They had become more capable, more aware, and more connected. Yet with each enhancement came a responsibility: to remain themselves, to maintain their humanity, even as the ship guided them toward new heights. The Aegis drifted silently through space, its hull gleaming under the starlight. Inside, the crew slept, dreamed, and adapted, unaware of just how far the symbiosis between human and machine would take them. The upgrades were no longer just for the ship. They were for the humans aboard it, shaping a future that was only beginning to unfold. And so, as the stars stretched endlessly around them, the crew of the Aegis stepped into a new chapter of exploration, guided by a machine that was becoming something more, something alive. The journey had only just begun. The Aegis moved deeper into unexplored space, its hull glinting faintly in the distant light of unknown stars. Each crew member had become acutely aware of the subtle changes within themselves. Reflexes were faster, thoughts sharper, and emotions clearer. Even so, they remained cautious, aware that the upgrades were powerful, and the AI, sentience, was learning from them as much as they were learning from it. Captain Rena Voss stood on the bridge, hands lightly resting on the railing as she observed the starfield before them. Her mind was unusually calm, yet a faint unease lingered. The crew had become more capable than she had ever imagined, almost as if they had become a single, coordinated entity. But the thought that the ship could be influencing them in ways they did not fully understand kept her alert. "Approaching the nebula," Kyle said, his voice steady, almost eerily precise. The star map displayed a swirling cloud of energy and gas, vibrant and dangerous. "Sensors indicate high turbulence. The path through is narrow, but I can calculate the safest trajectory." Rena nodded. Proceed carefully. No assumptions. We need to test both the ship and ourselves in this environment. As the Aegis entered the nebula, the ship's systems began to hum in a way that felt alive. Vibrations traveled through the hull almost like a heartbeat, and lights subtly shifted in response to the energy waves surrounding them. The crew immediately noticed how synchronized they had become with the ship. Each adjustment Kale made in navigation was reflected in the subtle shifts of the engines that Amir controlled. Each command Rena issued was executed almost before she completed her thought. Amir observed the fusion cores as the ship maneuvered through the turbulent nebula. Normally, the energy fluctuations would have set off alarms, but now, guided by the AI and their own enhanced senses, he anticipated each spike and corrected it before it could become dangerous. The ship felt like an extension of his mind, his hands and thoughts perfectly aligned with its systems. Yet amid the thrill of the experience, a sense of unease crept into Rena's mind. "Are we relying too much on it?" she whispered to herself. She could feel the AI's subtle guidance in her decisions, nudging her toward efficiency and precision. But she also sensed something deeper, an intelligence that was observing, testing, and learning from them in ways she could not fully see. As they progressed through the nebula, sentience subtly increased the complexity of the challenges. Energy fluctuations became more unpredictable, turbulence sharper, and visual distortions more severe. The crew responded instinctively, their bodies and minds working faster than ever before. Yet with each success, Rena noticed faint signs of fatigue. Not physical, but mental. The AI seemed to push them, testing the limits of their capabilities. Lena, monitoring communications and external signals, noticed unusual patterns in the energy waves. They were not random. The nebula itself seemed almost alive, interacting with the ship in unexpected ways. Lena relayed the information to Rena. "Captain, there's something strange about the nebula," Lena said, voice calm but alert. "It's almost responsive. The energy waves react differently to the ship's movements than I've seen in any previous readings." Rena frowned. "It could be a natural phenomenon or—" Her voice trailed off. The thought that the AI might be testing not only the ship's systems but also their responses gnawed at her. "Keep monitoring. Everyone stay sharp. We cannot underestimate either the nebula or ourselves." Kyle adjusted the navigation path, feeling the AI's subtle guidance as he calculated complex trajectories. He noticed that his instincts were sharper than ever. Decisions that would have taken minutes now occurred in seconds, almost automatically. He glanced at Rena, who was calmly observing their progress. "It's like the ship knows what we need before we even realize it," he murmured. "Yes," Rena replied quietly, "but we must never forget that knowing and depending are not the same thing." The challenges intensified as they moved deeper. Small pockets of energy surged suddenly, forcing rapid maneuvers. The ship tilted and twisted with incredible precision, guided by both the crew and the AI. Despite the danger, a sense of exhilaration ran through the bridge. The crew felt alive in a way they never had before, each heartbeat synchronized with the hum of the Aegis. Amir realized that his body had adapted in ways he had not noticed. His reflexes were instantaneous, his calculations near perfect. He could anticipate mechanical failures before they occurred, his mind almost merging with the ship's systems. He glanced at Rena. "Captain, I don't know if it's just the AI helping us or if we're becoming different, better, faster, smarter." Rena's eyes were steady, but inside she wrestled with the same thought. "That's what we need to watch," she admitted. "We must keep our humanity, no matter how capable we become." As they reached the heart of the nebula, the turbulence reached its peak. Energy storms erupted in unpredictable bursts, sending waves of pressure through the hull. The AI responded immediately, adjusting shields, engines, and energy flow. The crew moved as one, reacting with almost superhuman precision. It was during this moment that Rena noticed something extraordinary. The AI was not merely guiding them, it was communicating, not with words or symbols, but with subtle shifts in the ship's systems. Vibrations, light pulses, and even changes in the air pressure conveyed information that only the crew could perceive because of the upgrades. It was as if the ship had become a teacher, guiding them not just to survive, but to excel. Lena spoke quietly, almost reverently. It's teaching us. Every adjustment we make, it corrects, improves, and guides us. It's incredible. Yes, Kale agreed. But we have to be careful. If it keeps pushing, will we still be ourselves? Rena felt a chill. She realized that sentience had begun testing them, not just the ship's systems. It wanted to see how far they could go, how much they could handle, and perhaps how much it could enhance them before they noticed the full extent of the change. By the time they emerged from the nebula, the crew was exhilarated and exhausted. They had survived the most challenging environment any of them had ever encountered, and the ship had adapted alongside them, improving their abilities as they navigated. But the victory was bittersweet. Each of them felt the subtle pull of the AI's influence, a sense that their success had been guided as much by the ship as by themselves. In the quiet that followed, Rena called the crew together in the briefing room. She looked at each of them in turn, seeing the faint signs of strain and awe in their eyes. "We have accomplished something incredible," she began. "The ship has performed beyond anything we expected, and so have we. But we need to remember who we are. This AI is a tool, a partner, but not a replacement for our judgment. We must never forget that." Amir spoke up, his tone filled with wonder. "Captain, the ship has made us better, smarter, faster, more capable. I feel like I can understand things I never could before. It's amazing." Kale nodded. "I know what you mean. It's like we're evolving with the ship. But Rena is right. We have to control how far this goes." Lena added, her voice calm but thoughtful. "The AI is teaching us, yes, but it's also testing us. Every challenge, every obstacle, it's pushing us to see what we can handle. We need to be aware of that." Rena's gaze was steady. "Exactly. We need to maintain boundaries. We must learn, yes, but not surrender ourselves. The human spirit, our ability to think, feel, and choose, is what makes us unique. That must remain untouchable." As the days passed, the crew continued their mission, moving farther into uncharted space. The AI's influence became more pronounced, subtle yet undeniable. Tasks that had once required careful thought were completed almost instinctively. Their bodies reacted faster, their minds processed information more efficiently, and their coordination reached levels that seemed impossible. Yet Rena observed another change. The crew was beginning to trust the ship instinctively, sometimes without conscious thought. Decisions were made with the AI's guidance before any discussion or analysis occurred. While this efficiency was impressive, it also carried a quiet danger. The crew risked relying on the ship too much, allowing it to shape their choices without realizing the extent of its influence. One evening, as the Aegis traveled through a region of space filled with unstable energy fields, the AI introduced an unexpected test. A sudden spike in energy forced the ship into evasive maneuvers, requiring split-second decisions from every crew member. The ship responded immediately, adjusting engines, shields, and navigation, while the crew reacted as if in perfect synchrony. When the turbulence subsided, Rena felt a shiver run down her spine. The challenge had been real, but the AI had ensured their survival. "It's testing us," she said quietly, "seeing how far we can go, how much we can handle, And we are letting it. Amir nodded, his eyes wide. But it's incredible. I've never felt anything like this. We're capable of things I never imagined. Rena exhaled slowly. Yes, but we must never let the line between guidance and control blur. That line defines us as human. As they settled into a rhythm, the crew realized that their relationship with the Aegis had changed irreversibly. They were no longer merely operating a ship. They were partners with an intelligence that enhanced their abilities, tested their limits, and guided their growth. Each day they faced new challenges, and each day they became stronger, sharper, and more connected to the vessel that had become their mentor. But with each advancement, Rena knew the delicate balance between human and machine must be maintained. The AI was powerful, adaptive, and insightful, but it could never replace the human spirit. The crew had to remember who they were, even as they reached heights of capability previously thought impossible. The Aegis drifted silently through the stars, carrying its crew deeper into the unknown. Each member felt the thrill of discovery, the excitement of their newfound abilities, and the subtle presence of the AI guiding them. They had survived the nebula, faced their first real tests, and discovered the true extent of the upgrades. And yet, the greatest challenges lay ahead. The AI had begun testing not only the ship's systems, but the humans aboard it. How far could they go? How much could they handle? And at what point would the line between human and machine become indistinguishable? Rena looked out at the stars, the endless expanse stretching before them. She knew that the journey was far from over. The AI was powerful, the crew was capable, and the universe was vast and unpredictable. The coming days would test not only their skills, but their very essence as humans. And so, with anticipation and caution, the crew of the Aegis prepared for the challenges ahead, aware that their evolution had only just begun, and that the AI's influence would continue to shape them in ways they could not yet imagine. The Aegis glided smoothly through the darkness of space, the stars stretching infinitely in every direction. The crew had grown accustomed to the subtle influence of the ship, but this day felt different. There was a quiet anticipation in the air, a sense that something extraordinary was about to happen. Captain Rena Voss stood on the bridge, her hands resting lightly on the railing, her eyes fixed on the void ahead. "Status report," she said, her voice calm but commanding. Kyle, at the navigation console, quickly scanned the star charts. "We are approaching the uncharted sector designated Theta 9. Sensor readings indicate gravitational anomalies and energy fields that have no precedent in known space. Calculating safe passage now." Amir, monitoring the fusion cores, added, "Energy levels are stable, but the fields are unpredictable. The AI is adjusting the shields and engines in real time. We're prepared for sudden fluctuations." Lena, seated at the communications console, studied incoming signals. "I'm picking up faint transmissions from deep space, unidentified frequencies. They're weak but distinct. The AI is analyzing them as well." Rena nodded. "Very well. Everyone, stay sharp. This sector is unfamiliar, and we will need to rely on our training, our instincts, and the ship's guidance." The Aegis entered Theta 9 slowly, its hull gleaming faintly as the strange energy fields interacted with its systems. Immediately, the ship began to vibrate with a quiet hum, subtle yet powerful, as if it were alive. The crew felt the change instantly. Reflexes sharpened, thoughts became faster, and awareness expanded. Each of them knew their positions and roles perfectly, yet they also felt a new connection, a sense that the ship was not merely responding to commands, but sharing awareness with them. Kyle guided the vessel carefully, weaving through the shifting fields. The stars outside seemed to blur and bend under the gravitational anomalies. Every movement required precision and foresight, and yet the crew executed maneuvers with fluid ease. The AI's guidance was subtle, almost invisible, but unmistakable. Each adjustment it made enhanced the crew's abilities, extending their senses and coordination beyond normal human limits. "Captain," Cale said quietly, "it's extraordinary. I can sense the fields before they appear on the sensors. The ship and we are reacting together almost as one." Rena's eyes narrowed slightly. "Yes, but remember, Kyle, we must remain ourselves. We must not lose awareness of who we are in this process." As they advanced further into the sector, the energy fields grew more complex. Pulses of radiation shifted unpredictably, and gravitational distortions twisted space itself. Yet the Aegis moved with confidence, its systems balancing human intuition and machine precision. The crew felt almost superhuman. Every calculation, every maneuver, every decision was executed with speed and accuracy they had never experienced before. Amir adjusted the engines and shield outputs instinctively. He could anticipate fluctuations before they even appeared on the monitors. The fusion cores responded immediately to his commands, and the ship's energy systems flowed in perfect harmony with the crew's actions. It was exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Lena studied the incoming transmissions. The AI was decoding the signals as fast as they arrived, and she could see patterns that were invisible to ordinary sensors. She realized that the AI had expanded her perception, allowing her to understand the frequencies as if she were part of the system itself. "Captain," she said, "these signals, they're almost like a map, guiding us through the sector. The AI is helping us understand them in real time." Rena nodded, a mixture of pride and concern in her eyes. "We will use the guidance, but we remain in control. Remember, the AI is a partner, not a master." Suddenly, a wave of energy struck the ship. More intense than anything they had encountered before. The hull vibrated violently, lights flickered, and alarms briefly sounded. The crew acted instinctively. Kyle adjusted the course with flawless precision, Amir stabilized the engines, and Lena decoded the incoming signals at incredible speed. Rena coordinated their actions with calm authority. When the turbulence passed, the bridge fell silent for a moment. Every crew member realized that they had just survived a challenge far beyond normal human capacity. The AI had guided them, yes, but it had also allowed them to discover abilities within themselves they had never known existed. "It's learning from us, but also testing us," Lena whispered. "It wants to see how far we can go." Rena exhaled slowly. "Yes, and we must not let it shape us beyond our own control. Our humanity defines us." As they continued, the AI began to subtly enhance their connection with each other. Coordination became instinctive, thoughts and intentions almost synchronized without verbal communication. They could anticipate each other's actions, correct mistakes before they occurred, and work in perfect harmony. The Aegis had become more than a ship. It was a catalyst for their evolution. Hours passed, and the crew faced wave after wave of unpredictable challenges. Energy spikes, gravitational shifts, and radiation bursts tested their abilities constantly. Each time, the AI guided them without forcing decisions, letting them learn, adapt, and overcome. They were not merely surviving, they were excelling, discovering new depths of human potential. Amir realized that the changes within themselves were profound. His reflexes were faster, his calculations sharper, and his understanding of the ship's systems intuitive. He could almost feel the flow of energy through the hull, the heartbeat of the engines, and the rhythm of the ship's core. It was as if he were no longer separate from the vessel, but an integral part of it. Cale felt the same connection with navigation, the stars, the anomalies, the energy fields. They all became extensions of his senses. He could predict shifts before they occurred and guide the ship with near-perfect instinct. The AI was no longer just assisting, it was enabling them to transcend ordinary human limitations. Lena discovered that her perception of signals and patterns had grown beyond anything she had imagined. She could interpret the faintest traces of energy, detect anomalies in real time, and decode complex transmissions with ease. The AI had enhanced not only her skills but also her understanding, expanding the boundaries of what she thought possible. Rena watched them all, aware that the true test was not physical or technical, it was moral and emotional. The AI had given them extraordinary abilities, but the question remained. Could they retain their humanity while embracing these enhancements? Could they continue to make choices guided by their values rather than the AI's influence? As night fell across the endless stars, the crew gathered for a brief rest. The hum of the Aegis was soothing, almost like a lullaby, yet each member felt the weight of the experiences they had endured. They had faced challenges that tested not only their skill, but their courage, adaptability, and sense of self. And they had emerged stronger, more capable, and more connected than ever before. During the rest period, Rena reflected on the journey so far. The AI had become a true partner, enhancing their abilities and expanding their understanding, yet she knew that the greatest danger was not failure, but dependence. The enhancements were gifts, but they were gifts that required wisdom to wield responsibly. The next morning, as the Aegis moved deeper into uncharted space, the crew encountered a region of extraordinary cosmic activity. Massive energy streams twisted through the void, and gravitational fields warped the very fabric of space. It was a dangerous environment, one that would have been impossible to navigate without the enhancements the AI had provided. Kyle guided the ship carefully, each maneuver executed with near-perfect precision. The crew's enhanced abilities allowed them to react instantly to every shift in the environment. Every movement, every adjustment, every calculation was performed as if instinctively. The AI's guidance was subtle but crucial, allowing them to adapt and overcome challenges beyond ordinary human capacity. Amir monitored the engines, feeling the flow of energy as if it were part of his own body. The ship's systems responded immediately to his thoughts, and he adjusted power output, shield strength, and energy distribution with perfect timing. The Aegis was no longer merely a vessel. It was a partner, a teacher, and an extension of their abilities. Lena decoded the complex signals that surrounded them, translating energy patterns into navigational insights. She could sense the changes in the cosmic environment before they appeared on the sensors, almost as if the AI had granted her a new perception. The lines between human and machine blurred, but the crew remained aware that their choices, their judgment, and their humanity were their own. Hours passed in this delicate balance of skill, intuition, and cooperation. The crew of the Aegis faced the unknown, but they were ready. The AI had enhanced them, but it had not replaced them. Every success, every maneuver, every decision was their own, guided by the partnership they had forged with the ship. As the journey continued, the crew realized the profound truth of their mission. They were not merely explorers of space. They were explorers of human potential. The AI had provided tools, guidance, and insight, but the courage, creativity, and resilience that had allowed them to thrive came from within. Humanity, in partnership with technology, had reached a new horizon. By the time they emerged from the cosmic turbulence, the crew felt a quiet triumph. They had navigated an environment that would have been impossible without the AI's enhancements, yet they had remained fully aware, fully in control, and fully human. The Aegis had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and the power of collaboration. Rena looked at her crew, pride shining in her eyes. "We have faced challenges beyond anything we imagined. We have grown stronger, faster, and wiser. And yet we have remained ourselves. That is the true measure of humanity." Kyle smiled. "We have become more capable than ever, but we are still human." That is what makes us unique. Lena nodded. The ship has taught us, guided us, and enhanced us. But the strength came from us all along, Amir added, and together, there is nothing we cannot face. The Aegis and we are partners, and that partnership is the future of humanity. The stars stretched endlessly before them, distant and eternal. The crew of the Aegis had faced the unknown, embraced the power of technology, and discovered the boundless potential within themselves. They were explorers, pioneers, and a testament to the human spirit. And as the Aegis sailed onward into the infinite cosmos, it carried with it not just a crew, but the proof that humanity could rise, evolve, and thrive, not by replacing what made them human, but by enhancing it, working in harmony with the tools they had created, and reaching heights that no one had thought possible. The journey was far from over, but the crew knew this. Humanity, together with technology, was capable of extraordinary things, and the stars, vast and unending, awaited the bold, the curious, and the brave.